Hello, YouTube. We are back. It is myself and Mike with Faraday Research joining us today.
How's it going?
I will let you take over, Mike, with a couple of your updates for the viewers first.
Yeah, it's been a busy week again, working on a lot of stuff. Finished the Gerard Morin device. I did some experiments with that. I hooked up a transformer to it, so I was able to run lights and also drop the voltage down and rectify it and run a DC motor at the same time. All my videos are on my channel right now. You can see all that. I built a new oscillator, which I'll get into a little bit later in the show. I also built another transformer for the Don Smith device and was getting very good output with it. So I seem to be making some pretty good grounds with the Don Smith device. Still a lot of work to do on it, but yeah, that's it there, the video. So we could probably play that in a couple minutes. Yeah, so I worked on a new oscillator using the car relay switch. And this one is actually a 5-pin relay switch. And you can find the plans on Google. They're actually out there. If you hook it up in a certain way, it becomes an oscillator. So you would take two wires and you attach it to a battery, a car battery, and then the other two will go through the coil inside the relay switch, go into like a buzzing sound and go to a really high pitch, like a almost really irritating sound, but it's creating a high frequency,
Yeah.
high voltage, and you hook that up to a 120 volt LED bulb and it lights up. Now, what's significant about this little switching device is that the output current that it draws off the battery is only 10 milliamps. So, in electrical terms, that's like you can blow
Tiny.
harder. Tiny, tiny amount. So, if you hook it up, say, to a full size car battery, you could probably hook up 5 or 10 of those, and the battery will last probably 2 weeks, right? So, yeah, it
A little
produces a
better than
lot
a
of power.
Tesla.
It's super efficient, super, super efficient. Now, I'm working on some ideas how to use that to charge batteries. So, I'll be working on that in the next week or so, how to hook those up and see if I can start, charging up batteries in that way. I also brought back online. I made a small little lithium iron phosphate battery cell. I think it goes up to 13 and a half volts. I made it about well over a year ago. So I basically bought the cells on Amazon and bought the BMS control unit that basically it controls the voltage going to all cells. So it balances everything out to make sure all the cells are getting equal amount of power. So I hooked that up. It's a little pack. It's about yay big, and you can actually put it in shrink wrap and shrink it all down. And yeah, it makes a great little battery pack for whatever little project you're working on. And they're really easy to charge up too. So yeah, I've been really, really busy on this stuff. So yeah, I'm making a lot of headway on the Gerard Morin device, which I bought a transformer for it, and I actually blew it up because I tried to use it on the Don Smith device. It's weird. I made a transformer from scratch that works great on the Don Smith device. I get a lot of power out of it, but the second I hook it up to the Gerard Morin device, it shorts out. So and vice versa from one I bought off the shelf. It works great with the Gerard Morin device, but the second I put it on the Don Smith, I fried it. So
Does
you
it
know,
have is one an AC, the other DC, or just
no, I think it has to do with the high frequency. I think the high
the high?
frequency is what killed it. Yeah, yeah, because that one that I bought, it's a step down. I think it's made for a doorbell. So it
Okay.
go from 115 volts down to I think it was 12 volts DC, or sorry, 12 volts AC, and after you rectify it only becomes 6 volts. But because I used a very high frequency on the input side, I think I fried the winding inside or shorted it out. So yeah, it wasn't too much money. It was about $21. So it wasn't that bad of a, you know, a burn. But yeah, that's all part of experimentation. There's going to be times where you're going to blow things up, and it's just, hey, now you know,
Learning, right? Just
right?
do it. Um, in a controlled, safe environment, wearing safety equipment when working with these things is the key.
Which I don't follow one of them.
Don't do as Mike does.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit more experienced with this stuff, but from time to time, I do get a lifter, and yeah, I've been shocked a couple of times, pretty good. Also, this week I went to the library and decided to pick up a book. So I got this one here at Indigo Tesla. It's
And
500 pages. It has his patents in here. It talks about some of the history he went through growing up and all this kind of stuff. It has some actual patents in here that I actually haven't seen before. So
nice.
I'm kind of going through that. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting little device. It actually uses a Bunsen burner, and what you do is you build like an armature that is kind of like a teeter totter, and this
Okay.
side here would be attached to like a drive shaft, like a like a steam engine, and you got north and south, which is pulling together. But when you put heat behind it, it kills the electromagnetic field and causes the arm to swing up. When it cools off, boom, it comes back down. And the Bunsen burner, I guess, creates like a vibration, so it starts vibrating back and forth like this and starts spinning the little flywheel. It's pretty cool.
That
And
is.
yeah, if you put a heat source beside two magnetic fields, it kills it.
Hmm.
You lose the magnetism. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
I had not heard of that before.
yeah,
That's fascinating.
yeah. So if you put north and south, it's pulling together. But if you put a flame from a Bunsen burner in between it, it loses its magnetic field, and the magnets lose the pull.
Huh.
They'll actually give way. Yeah.
I did not.
So that yeah, I didn't know about this device until I started reading the book on it. Let's see if I can even find. Oh, the other one too. He was also working on the Faraday disc. So he was actually using a horseshoe magnet with a copper disc, and realized that you can get currents out of spinning a metal disc in between a horseshoe magnet. Creates the anti currents. So basically, from that, for every 1,000 RPM that the wheel spins, you should get about 1 volt of power.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's quite a bit of power, but you have to understand too, when you're spinning a disc through a magnetic field at that speed, there's the anti currents. It's like a tornado effect of electromagnetic field between the plate of the wheel and the magnet. So you're going to get resistance. So it gets extremely difficult to spin that wheel as the anti currents are building up on the disc, which translates into the amount of amperage that's created on the wheel. You get a lot of amps, but very little voltage. So that all comes. Actually, that was one of the very first electric generators that was ever made, and that was made by Michael Faraday. So yeah, uh, it's been used in industry, but a very long time ago, like in the early 1900s and 1920s, they were using it for high induction currents for welding equipment. So
Hmm.
it has been used, but it takes so much power to spin that wheel through a magnetic field. It's like a losing
Very,
battle. You know
very
what?
inefficient.
Yeah, it's only made for like say like welders and like induction heaters. That's where the Faraday disc is good. See, Bruce De Palma worked on this back in the 70s and 80s, and he actually took the idea from a couple of guys just outside of San Francisco over the hill. I guess it was part of the the MIT world, and they called it the sunburst machine. And not too much is out there on that device. But so, anyways, Bruce De Palma tried to recreate that device, and Eric Dollard actually knew him. And I've seen in one of the interviews they were talking. They said, "Yeah, well, he was creating these huge amount of rotating magnetic fields, but he still couldn't get the free energy out of it because it took so much power input to get power out, right?" And he says it's a losing battle when you're counter rotating magnetic currents. It's a losing battle. You're losing more power than you're actually creating. So there's been a few guys out there that have actually changed that theory, how to go about getting a lot more voltage out of it, and supposedly has worked. But nobody's really pursued it. I'm curious why it's kind of been falling out of the realms of the science, right? But
Hidden
still,
intentionally or just a lost knowledge?
yeah, it's lost because they haven't been able to, um, because of the amount of power that you have to put into it to get the current out. You can get lots of current, that's no problem. It's the voltage. That's where the problem lies. Because, like, I built the end machine myself, I can get a huge amount of current out of it, but when it comes to voltage, it's like in the microvolts.
Weird.
It's well, because number one, the machine's got to be incredibly large and with a huge amount of magnets involved, and before you can actually get some usable power out of it. But what Eric Dollard said, he could not get the free energy out of it. So to make a long story short, with Bruce De Palma, his life was threatened a few times, and he just bugged out and moved to New Zealand.
Yep.
And that's where he died, in New Zealand. I think it was 1995 he passed away. So yeah, he's been gone for a while. Adam Tremblay did another device. The Department of Defense seized it on him and threatened him and a whole bunch of stuff. It's a big mess. But that was another guy that made some pretty good headway with that machine. Yeah. So Adam Tremblay, from what I know, he's still around, but he's been super quiet. He hasn't really done much since then. I think he's been threatened so many times. He's just kind of, you know what I mean? Because I kind of, yeah, he kind of dropped out of the scene. He was kind of with that same crew that were doing the cold fusion back in the early to mid 1990s. And I think he was almost just a part of that whole crew that were getting suppressed. Even Joseph Newman was another one. He was getting stonewalled all the time too. So the Newman machine is over Unity for a fact, but see, I've seen a lot of people replicate his machine, but they just don't get how to get the over Unity. And if you read his patents he never got issued a patent. They would refuse to give it to him.
Blueprints.
But the blueprints, you have to have a minimum of 200 pounds of wiring.
Ooh.
That machine must have minimum 200 pounds of wiring. If you do not, yes, it's mass. His motor is based on mass. All right. So if you don't have 200 pounds of copper wire in the machine, you will not get the over unity effect, period. And I see all these guys building the machines, and they're nowhere near to the over unity effect that you should be getting. Like he was let's see, his motor is based on running on voltage. Okay. So his motor was running on about 450 volts DC, but he was using 9-volt batteries. He hooked up 84 of them in parallel to get around 480 volts. Okay. If you know a 9-volt battery, they can only pump out about 300 milliamps, which means this motor ran on voltage, not amperage. Okay. If you run a motor on based on amperage, it kills the system. It creates too much heat and you can't get the effect. So if you got a lot of voltage going through a huge mass of copper wire, well, guess what happens? You create a massive magnetic field that can do work. Okay, and this is where everybody goes wrong. See, like that's what's holding me back from making a Joseph Newman machine, is because I can't get a hold of 200 pounds worth of copper wire.
There's a lot of copper.
Yes, it's a very big machine. If you
Heavy
see,
and expensive.
Well, his machine before he died was 7,000 pounds. Okay, and he was running on 450 volts with 84 9-volt batteries, and he's moving 7,000 pounds, running a water pump with it, and putting out a ridiculous amount of power. So this machine was based on voltage to run it. Now, if you read up on Gerard Morin's device, which I'm working with, it works on the same principle. His not the benchtop device that I'm working with, not so much, but the bigger ones that he is building, the motors he's using to run in the hundreds of volts with almost hardly any amperage. That's where you're going to get your over unity. So,
right, and it seems like the amperage side of things is like that hot electricity, where most over unity devices are coming from the cold electricity, that plasma, the endothermic, like UV side of things, as opposed to the infrared. And like you were saying, how heat affects these magnetic fields, that would make sense that then this hot, any hot or devices causing heat would then affect that magnetic field, which would then lower the energy that you'd be able to get out of the magnetic.
Well, you lose the efficiency. Okay, when it comes to raw horsepower, okay, amperage, the way the motors we have designed today are built to run on amperage. Okay, when you look at Joseph Newman's, his runs on voltage and very, very little amperage, but the dimensions of the motor change completely. So you go from a motor this big to a motor bigger than a friggin' bed. Okay?
Wait, yeah.
And you see what I mean? It's mass.
And then you're dealing with the inertial aspects of the weight.
No, because you're charging up a large mass. When you charge up a large mass, you create a large field.
Inertial?
Right? It's inertial, but its electromagnetic field is a lot greater. Right?
Oh yeah, so that much copper, those many solenoids, like it'd be
the arc coming off of one of those coils would probably be about a half foot long. You know what I mean? Because you got all that energy stored inside that mass, and that's what clicked in Joseph Newman's mind. Is if you can store a high voltage in a large mass, you get a huge amount of power on the return. That's why today our motors have been designed to the point where there's so much waste, and you got hysteresis involved, and then usually your back EMF, they'll take that and they'll ground it out. That's loss of power right there. So they've taken a motor, like a DC motor today is a lot better than it was in the 1900s. We've perfected the technology over time, but still there's still losses. And the way regular DC motors work today, there's just, they ground it out. You're losing all that back EMF power that you can put back into the system.
Jim Murray's work utilizes that, and he gets mass over unity from being able to harness that back EMF.
Well, that's the basis of a pulse motor, is taking back the back EMF from the motor back and feed it back into the system. That's why my pulse motors are super efficient. Like I run the motor, It's actually got a bit of torque to it too, believe it or not. I did some tests and I was trying to stop the wheel while it was under power, and it had some torque to it. Even though that I was only using about 100 milliamps to run it, it had some torque. So obviously, the pulse motor is the real deal. Joseph Newman device, totally the real deal, but you got to build it properly. And if you got 200 pounds worth of wire to work with, hey, build it, because after 200 pounds of copper wire in it, you will get the over unity effects that he claims. He says anything under 200 pounds, you're wasting your time. So
we're getting questions of, have you looked into hemp batteries yet?
I haven't had a chance yet. I meant to look into that.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at crystal batteries with John Hutchinson at APEC next weekend.
Oh, good. Yeah. The crystal battery, he's been working on that for years, probably 30 years. He's been working on that. I think, those crystal batteries he was working on is basically working off the Casimir effect, and a 0-point battery. If you can charge a battery once, then the thing lasts for 25 years.
Right?
Not bad
at all.
And the thing is, the thing will charge up again if you heat it up and just give it a shock of power. The thing revitalizes itself.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing John. It will be something else.
Yeah, he seems to be peeking his head out again.
He is, and I've been paying attention to and talking to him on his YouTube channel. He's been putting out some decent work.
Yeah.
Decent videos these days.
He's a very creative mind.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe
play one of the videos I got there.
Yeah. We'll play the Don Smith one right now.
Yeah.
Posting the link in the chat. And then we'll just play this first.
And tonight I'm doing the second video for the night, and will be the last video for the night, because it's getting a little late here. So anyways, I've got on the bench here the Don Smith generator, and I've been working on different circuits. I was working on a couple of experiments. I'm still kind of figured that out. What I'm trying to do is a link to toroid or to transformer cores and link them in together to get power. So what I had to do with this one core, usually it's 1/4 of the wavelength. So this one's 20 winds, and then it would be 5. So what I did was I made it 10. So it's half the wavelength of this. Now it actually helped out quite a bit in the power output. So I got good performance again out of this. Now, I'm starting to figure out with these transformers. I did some research online. So what happens with the transformer? This pretty much goes for all transformers, depending on their amount of winds that are involved. So if this is your primary, you got less windings, and I use thick wire, and I'll explain why with the thick wire in a second. So basically it's going to step up the voltage, right? And what's going to happen by nature is say you're putting in 100 volts at 10 amps here, okay? It'll come out, say, 200 volts at 5 amps. So when it goes from the primary to the secondary, you lose half your amperage. Now, if I were to step it down, say I'm putting 200 volts here, it would go from 200 to 100 volts. And if it was 10 amps here, it would be 20 amps. It doubles. So you would decrease your amperage going in this direction. If you're going in this direction, you would double it. So this transformer here, you can use in both directions, either as a step up or as a step down. So I'll go over that again. 200 volts, you would get 100 volts. If you had 10 amps here, you would have 20 amps here. It doubles when you go down, but you lose half your voltage. So you go up half in voltage and you go down in, you go down by half in voltage, but you increase by half in amperage, right? So you're losing one, but you're gaining the other. Same way here. If I'm putting in 200 volts here, I would get 400 volts here. If I got 5 amps here, I would, if I got 10 amps here, it would be 5 amps here. See what I'm saying? So that pretty much goes with most transformers. Now you can have multiple windings, and some transformers, they have 4 or 5 different variations of how you can hook it up. You get into single phase, and then you get into a 3-phase, and then you can get a 4-phase, and it gets crazy. So they can get quite complicated, these transformers. So going back to this guy here, I didn't do any modifications to the core as it is, but one thing I did find, something very interesting that I totally overlooked, and I'm pretty sure it's one of Don Smith's secrets that he never told anybody. When you're coming off the high voltage discharge, okay, if you got a tiny skinny wire like this, you can't get amperage through it. You can't get current to flow. You need a large wire like this. Okay, this is a 16 gauge speaker wire. It's double the thickness of this guy. So now the high voltage potential coming off the high voltage discharge, I'm going to get way better current flow now that I've got bigger wires. Not only that, it's going to draw less amperage off my power supply. And I'll show you that in a second. And also, I increased the size of my master ground wire to the same thickness, because amps do get drawn from ground. So if you don't have a thick wire for a ground, good luck getting any current into your system. Now, from the last video, I was running at about 10 to 10 and a half volts, and I was always drawing at least an amp or better. Well, now I'm going to turn it on. 700 milliamps. Like, I'll even show how bright it is. And she's generating heat. I can feel it. So I'm getting way more amperage. Way more amperage going through it. So the thickness of the wire coming off your high voltage discharge, it should be big, thick wire. That's really going to help you. It's 800. I can even go a little lower. Let's go down to, say, 10 right on top. 2. Now I'm only doing 790 milliamps. I still got full power. That's 25 watts. So I'm putting in about 9 watts, 8 watts in there, and I'm powering 25 watts. So there you go. I got a huge jump in power factor. So definitely wiring, I'm starting to find out, is becoming more and more critical in this Don Smith generator. And I don't think Don Smith really touches base a lot on this in his literature, from what I can tell. He doesn't really touch on wiring. And wirings, especially off the high voltage discharge, you gotta have a thick ass wire there. Because if you don't got good current flow through that wire, how do you expect anything else to work? Right? It just makes sense. So it's helped out big time. Now I'm getting great performance out of this core. Even this one, the small one too, is getting me almost the same kind of performance. So if I wanted to really step it up from here, I've got 32 windings here. I could go to 64, and this one here is 8. I would go to 16, and it would bump it up even higher. I might even be able to run maybe a 40-watt bulb after that. So yeah, it's starting to come together now. Like this thing is really starting to actually do something now. I'm getting the power, I'm getting the amperage, and the current's definitely there, because if I didn't have the current, this bulb would not be heating up. And that's why I like to use the incandescent bulb, is because that's showing me that I'm heating up an element. There's an element inside there that heats up, and that takes current and voltage. So yeah, I think this was definitely a victory tonight, getting this done. So it does work too. So with this core, originally I had 5 and 20. Now I kept to 20, but I went to 10, so I'm half the wavelength. And Don Smith talks about that. It's either a quarter or half the wavelength, equal and opposite division of. So as long as you stay within those parameters, this will run in resonance. If it doesn't run in resonance, you'll know, because it'll start drawing a lot of amperage off your source, and you will not get the potential coming out of your light. It will be very obvious when you see that. So I know this is running in resonance. Also, spark gap, you have to play with that. I've kept it it's about 1 millimeter. I could actually go a little bit thinner, closer together, but what's going to happen is going to draw more amps. So I got it in a position right now where she's running pretty damn good. I'm drawing very little off my prime mover, and I'm getting full light. Like it's there. It's generating heat. I can feel it. If I kept my hand there for a little bit, it'll probably get so hot I couldn't even touch it. So yeah, it's really exciting. Don Smith is a real deal, but like I said, if you want to scale this up and make it run a house, you have to buy a lot more components. Like you need step up transformer, then step down 120 volts, then you have to put it through an RF choke, then you've got to adjust the frequency. So there's still a ton of things I can add to this to make it worthy of running a house. And the first thing would be I would have to get this thing running at 60 hertz. When I get it running at 60 hertz and the proper voltage, then I can run anything. But, this is still a demonstrator model to prove the concept Don Smith was working at was real. So, yeah, anyways, if you haven't become a member, bottom right-hand corner, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and any input that you have for me, questions, whatever, concerns, give it to me below there. I know the audio might be a little bit screwed up, but I want to show you the wiring is big. The wiring's a big issue. Get thicker ground wire. Go to.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Just outside and showing my beyond frozen experiment, still producing hydrogen.
Yeah. How long's that been running now?
Been plugged in for probably 2 hours. And you can see on the zinc plate there, it's bubbling up some white monoatomic with the hydrogen as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, just stepped outside there for a moment. Aha.
So are you planning to separate everything and get some gold out of it, or what are your plans are with that?
What gold out of this one? What do you mean?
Well, extract the actual gold into an actual gold substance, because right now because it's in monoatomic form. Can you extract that into an actual gold form, or
like turn monoatomic gold back into physical gold?
Right.
From what I've seen, the experiments for that is you put the material into, once you rinse the salt out, dry it out, you put it into a microwave, and it will usually solidify back into the pure metal.
Yeah, you should try that. That'd be kind of cool to see.
Definitely, but I've been waiting for a better lab, safer environment to do that, because, well, we will be putting metal material into a microwave, which also has the potential of a
Catching fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, metal in a microwave's not very smart.
Indeed.
Now, if you were to put it in a conventional oven, wouldn't it work too?
I believe it has more to do with the microwaves radiation than it does with the heat in it, and like that's more along the lines of what Hutchinson was doing and why he was getting so many transmutations of different solid metals.
Now, but Hutchison was working with more of an RF radiation. With that, because he was working with a lot of Van de Graaff generators and Tesla coils and rotating electromagnetic field. So he was dealing with RF and he was getting transmutation. So couldn't you come up with some kind of device where you can actually do that?
We definitely can and should.
Yeah, because you would need a Tesla coil for sure. And you would have to isolate it in some kind of I wouldn't say a Faraday cage. It would have to be almost like a chamber where it would trap that RF frequency. And that might cause a transmutation again. So it's like, yeah, you got to trap all the RF in a confined area, right? That's kind of what the magnetron does in the microwave oven. So, yeah, you know what? The best person to talk to about that, it would be Hutchison. To say I got monoatomic gold, how can I bring it back by Tesla coils and RF or a Van de Graaff generator or something?
Yeah,
that'd be
to our conversations with them at the next APEC here.
Yeah, that'd be good.
He has agreed to come on and talk to just us on one of our streams, but then it's been rather hard trying to schedule him.
Right. I was watching on one of Dollard's videos came out where they got Chris Carson's electrostatic oscillator working, and apparently that was working quite well. So Chris Carson passed away. He died of brain cancer, and when he died, his wife gave the electrostatic generator to what's his name, Peter Linderman, and then Linderman gave it to Dollard, and he's got it at his lab, and apparently they got it going in January, actually running. And so they got some pretty interesting effects with it. There's actually a video on his website showing that Chris Carson device. So basically what that device is kind of the same concept as the N machine, but by using electrostatics. So it's like a rotating capacitor. That's what it is. So I made myself a homemade capacitor on the weekend, and that worked quite well. You just get the plastic sheets from Staples and do a layer of tin foil, and then you do plastic, and then tin foil, and then plastic, and then on the ends, the first and the last plate, you put a wire on it, and boom, roll it up, tape it up really good, nice and tight, And yeah, you got a electrostatic capacitor. So that worked out actually quite well. I was very surprised. Very surprised how well that worked. So I got some more plastic. I might actually make a bigger one. I might try to make the one I made is 3 layers. The next one I might try, I'm going to try to make like five or 6 layer, and then roll that up and see how much capacitance I can get on a static discharge. And they worked really well with my static plasma ball, the Tesla ball. I was able to get with that capacitor, I was hitting about 163 volts coming off it. And I was charging super caps with it and everything. And I think I did some stuff too in the video talking about the full wave bridge rectifier. You have to use the proper rated bridge rectifiers, otherwise you fry the underrated ones. So that's really important. I think that's why some of my past experiments were failing, is because the bridge rectifier I had was blown and I didn't know it. So yeah, when you're dealing with high voltage, you make sure you get the proper rated diodes.
Key.
Yeah, that's key. Otherwise, you can blow it, not even realize it, and then you wonder why your experiment's not working anymore. Right? So that kind of cured a lot of problems getting the right high voltage diodes.
And you were saying, we have a comment here. Viewers been taking apart some microwaves, and that you are considering taking apart a microwave to get the not the transistor,
the transformer out of it. Yeah, be very careful when you do that. Okay, before you do that, the first thing you got to do. Actually, I was telling BurnEye before the show. You have to discharge the capacitor first before you touch any wiring. Get a very long screwdriver and discharge that capacitor. Touch both terminals together. You'll probably get quite a large spark, and discharge that, because if it's not and you touch that, you could see your maker very quick. So be very careful when taking that apart. So yeah,
safety first always.
well, the thing is, even though that the microwave could be sitting there for a couple of months, that capacitor still holds that power. It doesn't dissipate. It's still there. And a lot of people get hurt real bad because they don't discharge that capacitor. I've done it myself. Thank God it was a very small capacitor, but still gave me a good jolt, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just be careful. Ground it out, use a long screwdriver and just touch both terminals. You'll probably get pretty big spark and might actually weld the screwdriver to the terminal. So you might have to kind of yank on it to get it off. So, yeah. I'm trying to see. Yeah, the magnetron itself is actually an over unity device. Do some research on that one, because, yeah, the magnetron is one of those devices that are in plain sight and people don't realize they actually are over unity devices. The other one's the neon sign transformer. That's another one. That's over unity. There's a lot of devices out there that have been patented back in the past, and people don't realize these are over unity devices. So, yeah. And they're kind of under the radar. People don't realize what the technology is. Something like I said before the show, I do some experiments in the beginning and not really realize what I actually accomplished. And then I'll go away from it, and then I'll get some effect, and I'm going, wait a minute, I did that before. And I'll backtrack to some of my earlier videos and see that I was actually getting an amazing effect on one of the very first devices I made of it. And I have to go back and actually backtrack and recreate that same experiment again. And then I get some headway. It's like, you hand a baby, a spark plug. Well, he might know what it is, but he has no idea how it works, right? And then when he finally realized how it works, then he realized, hey, wait a minute, I made that way back when. I got to backtrack and redo that experiment to see if I can get the same effect that I was looking for. And that's how you learn, right? What's over unity? Okay, over unity, if you look up the definition on Google, okay, it's you're creating more power with less power going in. So you put a small amount of power in and you increase the amount of power going out. That's over unity. Now, a lot of people say over unity is free energy. No, there's no such thing as a free lunch, okay? You cannot create electricity. Energy is all around us all the time. We make apparatuses that manifest that energy from the ether into our devices. You cannot create or destroy energy, but you have to put physical work into something to get an effect. There is no free lunch, all right? Free energy is a term that everybody gets wrong. Free energy is this: when you do not have to pay for it, okay? The second you have to pay for energy, it's not free anymore. Okay, so I look at the way people say free energy in a different way. Free energy to me is energy I could produce myself without having to pull money out of my pocket. So there is no free lunch. You have to put power into the system in order to get power out. Over unity is a reality. Okay, you could put a small amount of power in and get a huge amount of power out. That's over unity. That's what you get with a neon sign transformer. That's what you get with a Tesla coil.
You get with solar panels, or
well, solar panels is over unity. It's free energy, in the sense that you do not have to pay for it. Okay, that's why I think where everybody goes wrong is free energy. Oh, it's just free. No, it's free that you don't have to pay for it. That's free. Where you have the power of generating power yourself. You don't have to go, plug into a hydro outlet and pay the hydro company $50 or $60 a month for your hydro bill, right? So, yeah, I don't like using the free energy. I feel more comfortable using over unity because that's more of a reality. Being able to create more power out of a small power source. And we do it all the time. Look under the hood of your car. Okay, you got the coil. Without that coil, that engine doesn't run, right? You're putting 12 volts in it and you're getting about 50,000 volts out, which gives the amount of power you need for a spark plug. And that's why you can power your vehicle. Tesla designed that coil for an automobile. So it all goes back to Tesla in the end.
It really does.
Yeah, it really does. So the coil in your car, neon sign transformers, just transformers in general are over unity because they produce more power than what's going in. And you can also go in the reverse. You can take a lot of power and step it down, right? So you got both sides. You can go either direction with it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just going to share here quickly the Tesla Tech YouTube channel. I just posted the link in the chat, and there are many, many amazing presentations on this site and the work that they've done. And the organizer, Steve, I'm in talks with to get him on here as well. And hopefully we can do a stream with him soon. But in the meantime, they are uploading about 2 to 3 presentations every day on this site, and it's really, really good. You had watched the Y, what was it?
Why bias?
The Y bias one, and then I watched George Wiseman's Brown's Gas one for health, and very, very good work. I recommend everyone check it out and give a subscribe over there, because everything helps.
The thing is, like, if people are into this stuff, I really encourage people, I've said it time and time again, get on the bench, start doing some experiments yourself. There's a lot out there. You got my videos on my YouTube channel you can refer back to. I got people corresponding with me every day. Some questions are really, really good. Some of them are okay, but you have to watch the videos sometimes a few times to get what I'm actually doing. I don't expect everybody out there is electrical engineer, right? I'm pretty much in the same boat. Everything I know now has all been self-taught. A lot of reading. I bought a great book over the weekend. I'm reading up on Tesla. I want to tell the story. We were talking about this before we went on.
Almost a psychic calling to you.
Well, we've been talking about consciousness and all this kind of stuff. Well, I had an experience that was kind of cool. And I like to share it. My daughter's probably rolling her eyes at me right now. Over the weekend, we decided to stop into Indigo. I wanted to see if they had any books on Tesla. So first thing we do, we walk in the front door, and they got the computer terminal there, right? So I go to look up on their website there to see if they had any books. So I'm looking. They got all these books listed, but nothing in the store. And I go, what the heck did I come here for? There's no books. So I said, okay, Angela, let's go. Let's just go walk, right? So for some reason, I went in the direction I did, went down this one row, and all of a sudden, and my daughter's behind me. I'm walking, all of a sudden, boom, I stop in my tracks. I look to my right. This book is staring me right in the face. I didn't even know where this book was. I didn't even know they had the book in the store.
Right.
I just randomly went down a row, and something told me to stop. Look to my right. This thing's looking right at my face. So
was meant to be.
Yeah, it's consciousness, man. You focus in on some remote viewing, all that stuff I've been studying for the last about a year and a half now. I've been really studying the works of Russell Targ and all the guys at SRI Institute that were doing all the remote viewing back in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s. They went, almost
golden age of it.
20. Oh, yeah.
Of
Ingo Swann,
and how he remote viewed the unknown moons of Saturn or Jupiter before the craft arrived.
Pat Patterson was the best psychic on the planet at that time, and he was murdered by the CIA. They killed him. He was doing some work for those guys.
Pray and hope that those days are over, and it seems like the new generation has kind of stopped those sort of activities ever since about 2012 now, thank God, because it's just ridiculous.
Well, because a lot of this science that we're doing is coming more and more to the mainstream. Physics are actually starting to open up their eyes a little bit, not being so tunnel visioned in their views and their dogmas and all that, people are starting to open their minds up. Their consciousness is starting to broaden now, opening up their eyes to new ideas and possibilities. And I think that's what it all boils down to. We're evolving as a species. I still think we're about 100 years behind. If we followed what Tesla wanted right from the beginning, we would have had a completely different planet right now. We'd be living off the land still. We'd be growing our own food at home. We'd be making our own energy at home. we would be self-sufficient. We wouldn't be dependent on a frigging government. You know what I mean? That
Right?
to me, my model of reality would have been complete, utter freedom.
Freedom. Exactly.
Freedom. And we live in a society of control and slavery. And, I can, sorry,
Hey,
I'm getting political on this, but yeah, we're living in excuse the French, we're living in a shitstorm. Honestly, we really are.
we really are.
I don't want to euthanize this. It's a complete shitstorm what we live in right now. It's we should be, as a species, we should be friggin' ashamed of ourselves. Ashamed.
Well,
Yeah.
all we can do is, be the change we want to see and lead by example. And that's why we are here. XRP2 sale, that is fascinating. And also, a little terrified dude was casting a spell in a chanting sort of way. Right? It's the arcane of this world is so suppressed, but it is so real. And how the elite also use the occult and live by it, whether it's astrology and the moon cycles and how the stock market and crypto market go and follow them, to so much more. And
Well,
the
perfect
spell
example.
casting is, it's just, it the more I look into it, due to alchemy and then looking up alchemical geometry, and then which is spell geometry, and they're the exact same, and that these spell geometries that they make, like in these circles and then everything else within it, there's power to it just in the structure of the shapes that they're doing, that it's impossible for it not to have some sort of physical reality or realness to it, just in the sense of how complex these spell geometries are, and that they're like bang on to like these same structures of atoms and of just the nature of the shape of the universe. It's mind blowing.
Yeah,
And
like geometry, I'm starting to find out is very important to the actual
absolutely.
fundamental building blocks of existence. And if you watch that video on Tesla Tech, the Y bias, the talks about the Fibonacci and how significant that geometrical pattern is
Oh yes.
to pretty much everything that exists.
It's one of the main fractals of how energy transfers within the universe and takes shape, as well as how physical manifestation of matter as well, in like these electrolysis reactions, for one, happens. Dan Winters is really good with explaining phi and the golden ratio. Therapy.net or .com maybe is one of his main sites, but we'll definitely have to do an episode just
well, that's why I've been studying this fractal vortex scenario, because I use it in my structured water, and that's one of the bases of structuring water is getting it into that vortex. When in the bathtub, when you pull the plug and you get that vortex spinning. Well, that's what I do in my structured water machine, is create that scenario, and that changes the water. I've almost totally 100% convinced that there's such a huge significance of that being done to water. Like, I could take 2 glasses of water, I could be blindfold. Actually, you could have 6 glasses of water, one of them be my water, and out of the 6 being blindfolded and mix them up. I'll tell you exactly which one's my water. That's how distinctive my water is compared to the rest of the water. It's Yeah, it's apples and oranges. It's completely different. And whenever I drink that water, and it is now neutralized, it's working in the resonant frequency of existence of 528 hertz and 432 hertz. I cycle it for 7 days. Now that water is now pure, structured water at the resonant frequency of good health and well being. And I pray to that water. That water now can be programmed. So I could sit there with the cup of water, I hold it in my hand, my body frequency, my intentions, my thoughts go into that water, and then I drink it. And
Max
exactly,
Moto style.
no, I'm serious. Why do you think the
Sure,
churches
it's
use?
all intent.
Why do you
I
think
agree
why?
more.
Well, why do you think the churches use holy water? They pray to the water. Connection. They're using structured water. They're putting their thoughts and intentions in the holy water, and that's what they use as part of the Christianity belief, right? The holy water. Well, my structured water is no different. I'm putting my good thoughts, my intentions in this pure water that I have created in my machine, and now I consume that water with the good intentions of good health and wisdom and well-being and all that stuff. And after I drink that water, I do feel different. I've been on this water for about 2 years now, and I swear by this stuff. Uh, it's just the way I feel now. I'll be 49 next month. Compared to the way I felt when I was 30, I feel better than I felt when I was 30. When I was 30, I was sick a lot. Now, not even close. I feel like I've gained 20 years.
Right? The structured water and the colloidal waters, they have effects that until you experience it yourself, you just have no idea how strong it really is and how much it really does impact. And I just posted the George Weissman presentation link in the chat here, one of the other videos that was put up on Tesla Tech today. And it's all about the health effects of structured water and the Brown's gas, or what you now believe to be H4 gas.
See,
and
all this stuff,
hydrogen.
all this stuff that we're talking about tonight is all tied together. It's energy. It's collective consciousness. Collective consciousness is an energy. We just haven't really understood it. A lot of that knowledge has been lost over time by the selected few that we won't mention that don't want us to know this stuff.
But I also believe that it's coming back now in this new age, but that every human, every soul every consciousness has the ability to access it on their own at any point in time. But it was that so many people were living in this cognitive dissonance where they weren't even being honest with themselves. Therefore, when you can't even be honest with yourself, where you're hiding your own consciousness within you because you're lying to yourself, and that you're not living a pure soulful or spiritual journey in your existence, then you yourself are creating that wall between you and that collective consciousness, or universal consciousness.
See, where I think a lot of things really changed and it's starting to make more sense to me now is December 31st, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar.
100%.
I think that was the start of the new age, of the new enlightenment.
You are 100% bang on with that, brother. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I personally noticed that it was at that point that YouTube itself, whether it was an AI algorithm, whether it was the elites, or just random all on its own, but it stopped censoring all of the free energy talks and the consciousness talks and the alien talks and all of that info. And instead it started bringing it and suggesting it to me, where before it would literally hide it, shadow ban it, and expunge it from the servers. It then started to put it up front and center, like promoting it, which
Yeah.
blew my
Well,
mind.
yeah, I think a big part of that has to do with the internet, because the information was getting out there. People were starting to open up their minds to new ideas and new theories. And I think the Mayan calendar, the end of it was telling, um, you know, telling us that we're entering a new age of enlightenment. Some people say, oh, they were more geared towards, oh, you're in end times and things are going to be doom and gloom. I think, okay, yeah, they're part of the world is kind of like that, but it's also a time of enlightenment, right? Where
Exactly. And once again, power of projection, law
yeah,
of attraction. What are you going to manifest yourself as your own reality? Are you going to manifest the catastrophe,
yeah,
the
yeah.
end of all things, or are you going to
See,
manifest the new reality, the new heaven
okay,
on earth?
here's a perfect example right now. We've been, inflected by this corona for the last 2 years. Okay. And now look what's the number one news right now. What's going on in the Ukraine with Russia. Okay. So now the new headline is Russia's going to invade the Ukraine. And
Absolutely,
now,
yes.
and even on local radio, I'm hardly noticing any talk now about coronavirus. It's all now about Russia.
Well, that's
The
because
stop.
their narrative was failing with
Well, you
the
can only ride. You can only ride that wave for so long, right? And
exactly.
so now everybody's looking at the doom and gloom again of another crisis. We had the
Exactly.
pandemic,
They
and
always
now,
have crisis to crisis to crisis,
oh,
trying to keep us in fear.
ah, this is what everybody can do. I did it today myself, and I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Everybody has their search engine where you can type in, ask Google when World War III is going to start. Well,
World War
lo and
III is
behold,
already over.
hold on. When is World War III going to start? You ask Google that. Guess what Google says? World War III is going to start on the 26th of October, 2026, and is going to end on November 2nd, 2032, which is going to be a war against the West and the East. I couldn't
Yikes.
believe and this is what Google said. Now, how is Google already predicting the Third World War when it hasn't happened yet? What kind of AI is this that is coming up with its own prophecy that World War III is going to start on the 26th of October, 2026, and then end on November 2nd? Like, it's given specific dates here.
That's crazy.
So right now we got this crisis going on with Russia and Ukraine. Okay, 2026 is still 5 years away, right? Or sorry, yeah. So like it's kind of creepy when I saw that
That is
Google
pretty
would actually do like a prophecy type prediction, right? Does
very
uh does Google know something we don't?
right.
Was it programmed to have that in there? Because I seen another guy talk about it, and I go, this guy's full of it. There's no way that Google could actually say this. So I tried it out today, and lo and behold, that's what it showed. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. I'm like,
The predictive programming at its finest, or
well,
just
that's
trying to get
that.
another conspiracy theory going.
I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think AI is getting intelligent to the point where it's seeing the algorithm of social things that are happening on the world now that it's able to put a prediction down. And if it's correct, that's freaking freaky, man. Like, that's scary if it actually predicts World War III to start in 2026.
or is it its plan to take over then, thinking it will be
Ah,
in control by that
yes,
time?
yes, exactly. Was this already in the cards? Like coronavirus was always in the cards, like 9/11 was always in the cards, like all these events were all pre-planned, sometimes 20 years before that. Like David Icke was talking
Well,
about was
I
talking about these viruses over 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago. He was talking about this stuff.
and there's a fictional book that predicted it, literally all of it, that was written in the 80s. I forget the name of it, but I remember sharing a meme of it when it first came out with the lockdowns and whatnot. It was nuts.
There was
But
a movie. There
no,
was a
no,
movie.
listen to this. I myself, when I joined the Masons for about 6 months, and this was about over a decade ago now. But I had access to the Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, and I read myself. I had heard of and seen the page number online, and I flipped to it myself and read. And in Morals and Dogmas, written over 200 years ago, it predicted World War One, predicted World War Two, but not predicted. It shaped it and was more of a manifesto to create it. And
Right.
then they said World War Three would be around the turn of the next century, so right around right now, and that it was going to be between the Christians, Muslims, and Jews of the world, and implemented to destroy all religions and bring in their Luciferian one world
Yeah.
satanic religion and government. And it's like, then you saw what they tried doing with ISIS, how they were doing all
Yeah.
of the flooding Europe with all of the Islamic immigrants and turning
Yeah.
the cultures on each other. And who was behind it? But the funding came out and proved to be George Soros, one of the largest elitists that would follow such a satanic driven doctrine to begin with. And
Yeah.
it's that they're trying to do it, but the good people of the world, the actual intelligent, loving souls and humanity, refuses to succumb to this BS, and why they've been driven back, and why they keep trying to push a war against Russia specifically, because it
Yeah.
was Putin who destroyed ISIS and stopped all of this illegal genocide and
Yeah.
cultural warfare that had been going on.
Yeah. I think too, like even in the Bible and Revelation talks about the Third World War to involve uh, a battle against the races. Basically everybody going after each other based on race, a race war. And we're kind of seeing that now, where, the regular mainstream media is trying to slander every single religion that is out there and try to convince people that, you got to live under this new way of thinking, get rid of religion, get away your belief system, start believing what the globalists want to, the global religion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Believe this new cult that they call the new world order, right? Live on a.
Just all backwards.
It is, and you know what?
I agree with the stopping of the dogmas and the religious extremism, but it needs to be put back into consciousness and your own self spirituality and experience, and not letting others dictate to you what to believe, but what you feel in your heart and soul to be correct and
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of lost tune of what the actual message in the religion is supposed to mean. You know what I mean? They're going,
exactly.
and you know what? The corrupted media out there is demonizing all these religions, saying all the Christians got, a lot of skeletons in their black closet, and then the Muslims have the same in their closet, and just taking shots from every direction, right?
And it's
Just
actually, it's those controlling elites that are paying you that have all of those skeletons, aka the Jesuit order and the Wahhabist, Salafist monarchies of Saudi Arabia and many others like them that really are the ones that are responsible for it. The New Rome, Church of Rome.
What do they call that? Divide and conquer, right?
Oh, exactly.
So if you divide it.
Comment on Cliff High. Absolutely have followed him for a while. I've actually exchanged emails with him a few times. Good guy. His WebBot predictions, they're about 50-50, but it's very intriguing technology. And when he's right, he is definitely right. But when he's wrong, he is very far off. For sure. Have you heard of Cliff High or seen any of his work, Mike?
No, I haven't.
Pretty good YouTuber for many years, but when the lockdown started happening and the censorship in regards to it, he went full frontal assaults towards or against it and got himself blocked. But now it's doing pretty good in the alternative channels and social media sites, but no longer on YouTube.
Yeah.
But he's a computer programmer that wrote this language that was it's called WebBots, but it would take all of the words and themes being mentioned and then add them up and then calculate it and be able to predict from the amount of it at one point of time what sort of events it would create and happen in the future. And for a while, he was at about 80% accuracy for several years. But then it was about a year and a half ago, he just started going way too extreme and predicted a fall of the U.S. government by last June, and that society was going to storm these government compounds and get free energy and anti-gravity out that way. And I disagreed with them in an email, and then he apparently attacked me on the stream or something. But I don't know. Definitely didn't happen.
Everybody's going to have their opinions and have their theories, and some will be right, some will be wrong. It's like trying to predict the future. Who could really, really honestly do that? But, technology's come a long way, and, this AI stuff could be something that we should be very, very leery about.
Absolutely.
Because, hey, all these Hollywood movies in the past, Terminator is one of them. The other one's The Matrix, okay? If you watch those movies, you're going to see a lot of stuff in those movies that you kind of relates to what's happening now. Like right now, we're running our show in the Matrix. We're running a show in a different reality of because people didn't realize. Well, Tesla seen this back in the early 1900s that we would be able to sit at home, talk to anybody anywhere in the world, video, audio, like the person was in the room next to us. So if Tesla wasn't a visionary, I don't know what was. Because he knew within 100 years, everything that we have now, he already knew it was coming. So there's so much stuff going on. It's just that you're trying to sort it out. Everybody wants to live a decent experience on this planet while we're here, and it seems like the people that are running this planet can never get their shit together and live in peace and not living in conflict and trying to go after land and land grabbing and trying to dominate business and It's just it boils down to the greed that lives in the blood of our species is then you wonder why all these great nations from thousands of years ago failed. Well, maybe because of their own stupidity they did. Some of them, might have disappeared due to catastrophic world events, meteor strike or ice age or whatever the case is. But I imagine there's been a lot of societies that have disappeared off the planet in the past that basically made themselves go extinct because of their own stupidity. And I'll tell you right now, us living in this world right now, we're no friggin' different. If we make the wrong move, we could become extinct like the dinosaurs too, right? So I think all of us as a collective consciousness have to get on the same page together and say, look, we're all living on this planet together. We got to make it work. Because if we don't, guess what? We're going bye bye, right?
Exactly.
That's what it boils down to in the end. So, do we want to live for a couple million years or do we want to end it in about 5 years?
There's
Well,
no reason we can't all coexist peacefully here.
and I think that is where the collective consciousness is. If everybody gets in the collective consciousness and gets on the same page and starts thinking straight and not thinking about greed and self gain and domination and all these things, then we can evolve as a species. We can carry on, you know. We could have been so much further ahead if it wasn't for the greedy few that controlled things. And I honestly, part of the problem was us as a society accepting this, but also too, society like the average Joe Blow at home. Oh, I'm just one person. What the heck can I actually do to change it? It's not just one person, it's all of us got to change it. If we don't like what we see, we have to let our governments know we disagree with it. Like, we could get into the whole discussion about, all the uh, protests in Ottawa and all that kind of stuff is because people are saying, you know what, we don't like what's going on. We do not accept what you guys want. We do not like it, and look what happened.
Right?
Look what happened.
The protests have caused the War Measures Act to go into effect in Canada. Absolutely ridiculous.
Know what the War Measures Act is? Martial law.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
It is.
Like, honestly, I live in Canada. I don't live in Nazi Germany.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, where am I living here? Like, is this Canada? Or am I living under a Nazi regime? Like, what the heck?
Gestapo. It's insane.
Absolutely. I am completely, utterly embarrassed of my prime minister. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to have a prime minister of what we have right now. He's a disgrace to this country.
It's pathetic, really.
Yeah, complete disgrace.
It's
sad.
So, have camps been built in Canada yet? Apparently, there's been lots of whispers of them for years. I saw a couple videos that seem to show them.
What's that?
The camps.
The gulags.
Yes.
The gulags. Oh, I imagine they're around.
Hopefully not.
They're all over the U.S. I know that. Those
right.
are called that's called the FEMA camps.
FEMA camps, yeah. Yeah, hopefully it never comes to that. Or all of the corrupt politicians get put into them. That would be all right.
Perfect idea. Yeah. That's the problem, by having these people in power that abuse of power. And the thing is, they come out flatly lie to your face and say, "Oh, we're doing what is right." Well, no, you're doing what's in your own best interests. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Oh, it's good for the people. Yeah, right. It's good for what's going to be going in your pocketbook in the
It's
end.
like backwards world, really. Pretty much
Yeah.
anything they say, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we play your pulse motor update video here quickly?
Sure.
And then I think after that, we'll end this stream, and then we're going to start another one on Campbell's right away thereafter. And
Is Campbell around, or?
I will call him here as the video plays, and hopefully get him on.
I'm going to scoot out for a cigarette, and I'll be right back.
Absolutely, brother.
Okay.
And welcome back to Faraday Research. It's Sunday night, and it's about 9 o'clock. And I've been toying with some other ideas and got some more parts in. And what I'm going to be doing is explaining what I did with this car relay. And I did something very special with this, which I'm going to share with you. Now, this relay I tied into the pulse motor, and I got some very interesting results. So first, I guess we'll get into this relay. So what it is, it's a car auto relay. Now, this one here is a 5-pin, not a 4-pin. Most of the ones that you see out there are 4-pin. This one's a 5-pin. So what this allows me to do, when you hook it up in a certain manner, you can turn this into an oscillating relay circuit. So I found the plans online. They're really easy to do. I hooked up all the wiring, connected it, and I hooked it up to this 8-watt bulb. So what I'm going to do is I'll turn it on, and then you'll hear it. It's going to start buzzing. So what's happening is the middle pin that's on this, that's the 5th pin. If you short that out between the one that controls the switch, what happens is it shorts it out and causes that it's basically called normally open, I believe it's called normally open on the relay. So what it does is it starts oscillating at a very, very high rate. So it goes into like a buzzing sound. It's kind of irritating, but it works. So I have my voltmeter set to 12 volts, and I'm going to turn it on, and then you can see that the light's going to come on. Okay, so you hear that sound? That's coming from this. So it's buzzing away. It's got a coil inside, and the coil's collapsing, going into resonance and causing the light to come on. So I've turned 12 volts DC at, it's drawing very little amperage, 0.01, so 10 milliamps, and it's able to light up an 8-watt bulb, LED bulb, this rated at 8.5 watts. Pretty impressive for an automotive relay. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to get into the next part here, which I found kind of really cool. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can do so bottom right hand corner. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. All the descriptions, links to my donate, to my Patreon. I'm going to be putting the circuit diagram for this relay in my Patreon. So if you're a Patreon, you'll be able to see the diagram, how to hook this up. So getting back to what I plan to do here, I'm just going to put the phone down here just for a second because I have to change some wiring. Sorry about the view. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to hook up this oscillating relay. I'm going to hook it up to the pulse motor now, and I got some interesting effects. So I'm going to hook it up. Now when I hook up the oscillator to the pulse motor, it does draw a little bit more power. but that's okay. But I'm going to explain where this thing actually enhances everything. So now I got it hooked up to the pulse motor. It's on the out. All right. So this is now hooked in to the pulse motor. Now I also still have the piezo transducers hooked up, the 3 of them. Okay. So this is very important. So what I've got out of this experiment is I got this coil running this switching device. Okay. Now these piezos now get this coil in resonance, which increases the output, and I can tell just by the sound coming off the relay, that thus giving me more output. Okay. Now I've got this thing hooked up into the equation. So I'm going to show you first without the piezos, and you're going to notice that the light is going to be on, but it's not going to be solid. It's going to be flickering. All right. So I'll get that going here. All right, let's get her going. Okay, so you can hear it. All right, you can hear it running. So I got it going. So you can see the flicker. Okay, so I've got this coil here is not in resonance. So what I have to do is I got to get this in resonance with my piezos, the piezos in resonance with my switching device, and this will go even more solid and more consistent just by hooking up the one lead. Because right now you can tell it's flickering. Well, I can see the flicker. Yeah, you can. All right, so I'm going to hook it up. Now watch what happens. Okay, now the piezos are hooked up. Okay, that flicker is now totally gone. It is solid. It might actually look flickering on your screen, but for me, it's a lot brighter for one. A lot brighter. A lot brighter if I hook this light just directly to the pulse motor. I can't get it this bright. If I take the piezos off, it goes dimmer. The second I hook the piezos back up, now all the coils from here, there, and the main coil of the motor are now all in resonance together. And now I got a really bright light, just to kind of show you how bright it is. There we go. You can see how bright it is. So a dramatic change in power output. Dramatic change. So it still seems like the piezo transducers are adding to this equation to get everything into resonance, because it's actually in the middle of my circuit. I got coil, piezos, another oscillator. So now all 3 of them, everything is now in resonance. And as a result, I got a lot more power output. Now, if we go to my voltmeter, I haven't changed anything. So just running the buzzard, the relay buzzard on its own, only takes 10 milliamps to run it at 12.4 volts. So now with the pulse motor in, it's using 140 volt milliamps. Okay, it's a little higher, but still for a pulse motor, 140 milliamps is nothing. It's nothing. Now this light is bright, very bright. That means I'm getting a full 8.5 watts. And here, somebody will have to work it out on a calculator. 12.4 volts times that by 0.14, and that'll give you the output watts. Offhand, I don't know what it is. I think it's hovering around 2 watts, 3 watts. And I'm running 8, solid 8 watts. So you need to have a coil on the end where your power out is, and then the piezos in the middle to get everything in resonance, because you'll see the difference the second I disconnect those piezos. Watch. Now I got flickering. It's not in resonance anymore. As soon as I get it into resonance, it gets a lot brighter than what it is now. It actually dimmed quite a bit. You can't really notice it too much on camera, but I can. It dimmed quite a bit. Second I get the piezos, way brighter and solid. So I know I'm getting a solid 8.5 watts. And I'm putting out, 2 watts? Putting like 2 watts into the system, or whatever it is. Yeah, somebody will have to work it out. 12.4 volts at 0.13 or 0.14 amps. that'll give you the watts. So I'm making a huge gain from how much I'm putting in to how much I'm putting out. So now I'll have to work later in the week and try to loop it into caps and just have the cap bank running the whole show. If I can sustain that cap bank, this thing will run forever. So just with adding this new oscillator, and you can hear it, it's not too loud now. Surprisingly enough, it's not that loud. When it runs on its own, it starts buzzing a lot louder. I don't know. It's weird because I'm putting more power into the system, but yet if I run this oscillator on its own, it only draws 10 milliamps, which is nothing. And it can light this bulb up. Not all the way, about halfway. So it's about 4.5 watts on its own. So yeah, tell me what you think, everybody. Leave your questions, comments below. I'm going to be doing another video this evening on my Don Smith generator. I'm going to be hooking up not just the one coil I made. I'm going to hook up both of them together, and I'm going to see what kind of a difference in power output I'm going to have. So that should be interesting all in its own. So anyways, yeah, give me a thumbs up, and we'll see everybody.
There we
Always give Mike a thumbs up.
go.
All right. I guess we will end this here, and then in about 15 minutes go live on the Autodidactic 1 channel.
All right. So are you going to send me a link, or
Yes,
how's
sir.
that?
I will send you the link right away.
All right, guys. We'll see everybody soon.
Much love. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you right away on camera.
All right. All right. Take care.
Ta-ta.